Joining me now to talk more about the situation in Syria is Cedric Leighton. He's a former U.S. Air Force colonel and founder of Cedric Leighton Associates. Welcome back to the show. You know, you had this Friends of Syria meeting in Tehran. You also have this upcoming peace conference in Geneva talking about the situation in Syria. But despite all these talks, you have all these arms and weapons moving around. Yes. What can you make of this, say one thing and do another?
Well, Elaine, it's unfortunately part and parcel of everything that these people have done for their entire political careers. So you look at every single player in each of these Syrian efforts, whether it's the Friends of Syria conference or the purported peace talks that are going to hopefully happen either in June or July in Geneva. And what is happening on the diplomatic front may very well be different from what's happening on the military front. You have a bunch of people who are very keen on supporting one side or the other. And in some cases, within certain countries, you have people who are doing the military thing, i.e. supporting the one group with weapons, and then another group within that same country doing the diplomatic dance, and that diplomatic dance includes all of these meetings. But those meetings are really not going to have any effect if the picture on the ground stays the way it is, with all the fighting going on and with all of the different things that are happening with all of the factions that are out there. And that will become the determining factor whether or not any of these meetings actually succeed.
Well, can they actually make a difference? Because it seems like there have been meetings before, nothing has really been accomplished, the situation is getting worse, some would say. Why even have these meetings?
Well, I think that, the diplomatic side of any government wants to always go ahead and have meetings so that they can be seen to be in a negotiating position. Sometimes, though, you also have people wanting to have meetings because of their strength on the ground. So right now you see the Syrian government working very hard to take over a lot of areas that have previously been controlled by the rebels. And the Syrian government believes that it can negotiate from a position of strength. And when it does that, that then keeps it within their interest to have these meetings, these negotiations, and they're very public about that because they want those negotiations to succeed on their terms. So it's a matter of succeeding both on the military front and on the diplomatic front, and to put those two together requires a strong military presence as well as a diplomatic presence that capitalizes on any gains you make in the field.
Well, how does the reports of these Russian weapons going into Syria complicate the situation? Because you have Russia, who is one of the organizers, supposedly, of this peace conference coming up.
Right. The S-300 missile, which the Russians it's an air defense system that is based on the SA-10 missile system. That air defense system can change the entire picture in the Middle East from a military standpoint because it has the capability to detect, theoretically, aircraft and missiles that are about 100 miles or so away from Syrian airspace. So what that means for the Israelis, for example, is that this air defense system could actually detect Israeli aircraft as they are taking off from their air bases. The Israelis are very worried about that, and so they see this as a game changer because they believe that the S-300 and its associated radars are going to make all the difference in terms of Syria's capabilities, Syria's power, and the ability of Syria in the form of the Assad regime to actually do some damage to the Israeli state and the Israeli military. So that's what they're worried about.
I want to ask you about something in Jessica's report of Assad leaving open the door to possibly run again for president of Syria. He said that he will leave it up to the Syrian people. If it gets down that far, could they even have an election at this point, or how would that even work?
If they had an election at this point, it's 2014 is the time that he is supposed to be running for re-election. Keep in mind that in Syria, all of the elections have not been free elections. They have been controlled elections in the standard way in which the Ba'ath Party has done that. And that means that the election is not free. There are not multiple candidates that really mean anything. There may be other candidates, but they don't really have an alternative, and they have no chance of winning.
10 seconds, though. Mm-hmm. Could this be a way for him to exit peacefully?
Theoretically, it could if he loses, but he won't let himself lose.
All right, Cedric Leighton, we appreciate your time and your insight. Thanks again.
My pleasure, Elaine.